Well, welcome everyone to Birding the Calendar, where to go birding in August with Tucson Audubon. My name is Luke Safford, the Director of Engagement and Education for Tucson Audubon, and been doing these sorts of talks about where to go birding for about 3 years now. So hopefully we won't run out of places to go to. A couple of the spots I'll talk about today, I have hit on other talks before, but we'll just talk about them in a little different way, along with some new ones. If you ever want to go back and look at old recordings, old where to go birding in Southeast Arizona, you could go to our YouTube channel and check that out. I'll also put that in our email that we send out tomorrow. Actually, my colleague Danito is going to be sending out that email. But for every month of the year, we've done one, including multiple months sometimes. So today, we're going to look at August. We're right at the end of July already and gearing up for what happens to be my favorite month of birding. And when I think of August, one bird I think of, it's not a painted bunting like we were talking about at before we started the talk, but this varied bunting. August is a great time to go and see varied buntings, kind of in the lower foothills of the canyons and also along the Anza Trail too. In fact, we're going to talk about the Anza Trail a little bit today. But before we do that, let's talk about a few other things that come up when we think about birding in August. So what to expect when you're birding in August? It's kind of like the first thing I always think about when I talk to someone who's maybe out of town, or maybe someone who, kind of new to birding and thinking about, all right, so what should I kind of be aware of when it comes to birding in August? Some of these are specifically for people from out of town where you might not understand that, hey, in August, you got to plan for afternoon monsoons. Those are going to come. Hopefully they will. Hopefully we get more of those. But just be aware that rain usually comes in late afternoon, evening. So plan accordingly. And really, shouldn't be an issue anyways, because you got to start early in the morning. I mean, we know how hot it is and all that. And not only is it hot for us, but it's hot for the birds too. So starting early in the morning is really what you need to do when it comes to birding in August. So also you have to kind of be aware that a lot of birds have just either finished breeding or are in the midst of breeding. So there's potential for young birds. There's potential for molting birds as they prepare for migration. So just maybe some weird kind of, weird looks at some birds. So we were talking about Nancy had northern cardinals at her house the other day, a male and a female and young there. Well, the young northern cardinals, the males have like a black beak, and it can really throw people off. I get young northern cardinal pictures sent to me all the time wondering what it is. Is this a pyralexia? Why does it have a black beak? Well, it's a young bird. And so not just northern cardinals, but many other birds, when they're young, they just look a little odd. So you just have to be prepared for that, especially in August. I'll just say, don't drive through flowing washes. You should probably go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyways, especially like if you're going to go down to the Patton Center for hummingbirds and you have to plan for monsoons, you have to plan for the potential for the creeks and the washes to be flowing. So don't drive through the wash there at Sonota Creek if there's water in it, any of that stuff. Also, all of you should know that something really, really big is happening in August in Tucson, Arizona, and that is the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival. So where to go birding in August in Southeast Arizona? Well, first off, attend the festival and go birding with us during the festival and meet other birders, and then go out during the mornings, come back and enjoy some social hours and walking through the Nature Expo and all of that. So we'll be sure to put a link in our follow-up email with about the festival. But if you haven't registered for that yet, I encourage you to do so now. Or maybe not right now. Stay for the talk and then go do that. But you'll want to go ahead and sign up for that. There's a registration fee, but if you pay the registration fee, then that gets you into a bunch of other things, including a birds and beer on Thursday night where the food and the drinks are all paid for, or at least one drink. So that thanks to Beaumont. So make sure you come to that. All right, let's get into the birding. Let's get past all that kind of stuff and get into the birds. So August is like, well, fall migration has already started. Just as we had the conversations, painted bunting, post-breeding dispersal. Jesse mentioned black-headed grosbeak starting to move through already a little bit. You know, I was out the other day and I had a western tanager. That's another like early migrant that's coming through. They had Rufus Hummingbird at the Patton Center. And we have a Swainson's hawk right here. And one reason why I put the Swainson's hawk here is that my friend Dan Weiss said that already Swainson's hawks are starting to build up in numbers in the Santa Cruz flats. So August is a great time to see the spectacle of fall migration, and we get it in different ways here in Southeast Arizona than in other locations. And actually, we get a fair amount of really good fall migration. So when it comes to Swainson's hawks, one of the best spots to look for those are the Santa Cruz Flats farm fields. So if you've never been to the Santa Cruz Flats, let's go right here. So here's a map of Tucson. And we won't dig into everything about Santa Cruz Flats, but I just want to show you for those of you that may not know the area. So as you drive up I-10, you got Picacho Peak, sticks up like a sore thumb right along the freeway. Well, before that big peak, there's a exit called Red Rock exit. And from the Red Rock exit, you can come out here. These are all agricultural fields. These green spots here to the east of Picacho Peak can be great for staging Swainson's hawks. After they breed, they come here to fuel up before they migrate down all the way to Argentina, some of them. And so you'll find them out in these fallow farm fields, and they can look kind of like this. Here we'll go to, this is the August 14th. This is from 2020, but just an eBird little submission that I found that had some really good examples of what Swainson's hawks look like when they're in these fields. They're just right on the ground. And you see there's 3 there. You can see, you just drive by the fields, and sometimes if they're freshly cut, those are the best ones to look in. And you can either find these Swainson's hawks just sitting in the field looking for grasshoppers, mice, other larger bugs out there, and they can be really cool. They had 115 right along this road in the Santa Cruz Flats. And so my friend Dan said that there was a whole bunch out there already. But as you get further into August, especially middle to late August, that's really the best time. And these guys had some caracaras out there too. So that's one bird to think of when it comes to fall migration. I'm going to stop my share. I realized I forgot to share with the sound. So I'm going to reshare again and share with the share sound right there. So Swainson's hawks, keep those in mind. And let's see, there's also, we mentioned Rufus hummingbirds already being seen at the Patton Center. August is a great time for these orange, I mean, a kind of Rufus makes you think of brown a little bit, but really it's almost like an orange buzz that like goes right by you when you see these. But any of the different hummingbird hotspots around Southeast Arizona can be really good for Rufus hummingbird in August. And calliope. So both Rufus and calliope are hummingbirds that don't breed here in our area, and they only come through in spring and fall migration. August being, I think, the best time to see both of them. So places like Beatty's Guest Ranch near Sierra Vista, or Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary. Of course, the Patton Center for Hummingbirds, they had a calliope there the other day, and the Santa Rita Lodge, other hummingbird spots like that, and even in your backyard. So we're talking about hummingbird battles happening at feeders and Casas beating the broadbill. if there's ever a Rufus hummingbird that comes through, they are the warriors of the hummingbirds. They really do control the feeder and are notorious for fighting off other hummingbirds. So look for these orange little buzz balls coming by you in August. Here's another bird that I really think of when it comes to Southeast Arizona in August. Now, maybe this wouldn't come up to you as something that you think about, but Redneck Fallrope. Redneck Fallrope has a sharp increase along with a few other shorebirds in the month of August as they come through from their breeding grounds way up in the Arctic, and then they winter far south in South America. And Cochise Lake near Wilcox is a really fantastic location to find Redneck Fallrope. There might be one or two there right now, but as we get into August, there'll be a few more. You have to kind of pick through them through the Wilson's Phalaropes to find them. But Redneck Fallrope, Baird's Sandpiper, Willet, long-billed curlew, those all really pick up in August. So we always have a couple field trips during the festival that go to Cochise Lake. And, you know, we even have Rick Wright doing a shorebird workshop this year. And you wouldn't really think of that when it comes to Southeast Arizona. You think of trogons, you think of all the flycatchers, you think of red-faced warbler. But our phalaropes and our shorebirds are pretty good too. So just pick out that Redneck Fallrope. The Wilsons will have kind of a light gray back and won't have this kind of dark gray streaky. And the Redneck Fallrope has this like black eye patch. This is their winter plumage. And then they have the Wilson's Fallrope will have an even skinnier, thinner bill and be a little bit bigger and a little daintier type looking. The Redneck's kind of compact. But anyways, that's one to look for. One more migrant that I think of for August is willow flycatcher. Sweetwater Wetlands is a fantastic spot for willow flycatcher. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later. But just think about all these flycatchers that breed in more northern latitudes. They all start coming through and breeding here. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to show you something when it comes to Rufus Hummingbird that you can also use to track for these other migrants to kind of get an idea of when they come through and what kind of populations actually migrate through. So let me go to a new share here. And we don't need that anymore, but we are going to go to this right here. Okay. So my favorite website, as you might know, is eBird. And this right here is, if you go to, this right here is, if you go to science in eBird right here, and you go to science up here on the top, and then you go to status and trends, and you can type in any bird species you want to look up. In this case, Rufus Hummingbird. So over here on the right, you can see the months and the weeks of the year. You can see how abundant a bird is. So the darker purple, the more abundant. The lighter yellow, least abundant. So this is January 18th right here. This is where Rufus hummingbirds are at in January. So where do they winter? They winter in central Mexico. And if I press play right here, what you're going to see is you're going to see the movement of population of Rufus hummingbirds go up to Washington and British Columbia and all the Northwest, and they're going to breed up here, and then they're going to come back down. And I'm going to let it play through once, and then I'll stop it in August so you can see a little bit about what the population looks like. This is really cool. So I'm going to hit play right here, and it should go for us. There they go. They're moving up. You see they're all up there in the Pacific Northwest. That's where they breed. And then they come down. You see they are more populous. It's populous word. There are more of them coming through in fall migration than there are in spring migration. So let's pause it right there. August 17th. Look at all this dark purple right here in our area. And if you just go one more to the 24th, look even more. So like you can see, if we go back to where we're at right now, was it July 20th? Very, very few. And then even if you go back to June, like there are no Rufus hummingbirds here, but then they come in waves in August. So, and you can do that for any bird species you want. And it helps you to just get an idea of population of birds as they come through. Really cool. All right, let me go back to my PowerPoint. All right. So I was having a really hard time figuring out what I wanted to talk about here for August. And so I decided I'm just going to take you to my favorite spot. It might be my favorite spot regardless for any month, but I love birding in August. I know I've talked about it a few different times, but it changes. It changes all the time. And based on different times of the year, what you're going to see there, and the river changes, but the Anza Trail. Now, this is right outside Tubac. And this is the little footbridge that we take over from our parking spot in Tubac. And you, as I'll show you, you walk north and then you cross this footbridge. So let me, before we get there, let me show all of us, just kind of give us an overview of the Anza Trail near Tubac. If you've never been there before, this is I-19. And as you go south from Tucson towards Nogales, you'll come to exit 34, the Tubac exit. And it's really easy to get to. You just take the Tubac exit and go north to Bridge Road. And then from Bridge Road, you just kind of weave your way to the corner of Bridge Road and Calle Iglesia. And right at the southwest corner of Bridge Road and Calle Iglesia, there's a little parking area. And right, it's you'll be parking next to kind of like a horse pasture, a horse corral type of thing. And then if you keep going on Calle Iglesia, then you get to Ron Morris Park, where we do the hawk watch. They just park right at the corner of Calle Iglesia and Bridge Road. And what I like to do is I like to walk north. I think I have that. Oh yeah, here's my favorite route. If you can cross the footbridge. So sometimes during the monsoon seasons, the footbridge will get washed out. Right now, it's not washed out. In fact, I'll show you a picture a little bit later. There's zero water going through that section right now, which is incredible. It's kind of sad to not have the water through there right now, but there is no water. So the footbridge is safe. Who knows how much longer, but if you can cross it in August, that's what I would recommend. So this is right here, this little dot down here at the bottom. This is the corner of Bridge Road and Calle Iglesia. And you walk across Bridge Road, and then there's just like a little pathway that takes you over here. And the Anza Trail does continue on the west side of the river, and you can go up north along the west side of the river, past the pickleball courts right here, and you can walk on this side. But like I said, what I like to do is I like to cross the footbridge and go up on the east side of the river, and it takes you up by the Tubac golf course. And you can kind of see my path that kind of wandered around up here a little bit. But that's normally that's my route. It's about this whole wandering up here added about half a mile almost. So like I was just moving all around, but it's about 1.25 miles, I think, up to this point. And this trail just winds around, and it's all under the shade of the canopy of cottonwoods. So I went there on Saturday. It was hot, but it was shady. And so it was tolerable, not just tolerable, but it felt nice. My wife went, didn't complain one time. She just said she was sweaty, but she wasn't complaining. And but we were in the shade, which is really, really nice. Some birds to look for at this time of year through there are Bullock's oriole, one of my favorite orioles, and probably one of your favorite too. It's not my Scott's oriole is my favorite. I almost put on here my favorite, but it's probably like second below Scott's oriole. But Bullock's oriole, lots and lots of orange on these guys. with the little black eyeliner and big white wing patches. You'll see these, not too many of them, but most of the orioles that you see along the Anza Trail at this time of year, right through there, are Bullocks orioles. And so they'll be there through the end of September, pretty much. Or no, sorry, end of August. I believe they head out the first part of September. So if you want to see them, you got to get down there next month, this month or next month. So be looking for those. Another bird that there's a lot of summer tanagers all throughout this whole stretch. And you see these striking red birds up in the canopy of the cottonwoods. A lot of times you hear them first. This is a recording done by my friend Scott Olmsted. He's also a field trip leader for the festival. Let me play this here. You get an idea of what you're going to be listening for. So that's, I plan putting those little sound bites in, not only so that we can prepare ourselves for what we should be listening for, but also to give myself a time to stop talking and have a drink of coffee. So that was perfect. But the summer tanager here is one of the most striking birds. It's the only bird in the United States that is all red. So most other red birds that we come across, whether it's scarlet tanager, vermilion flycatcher, they got red and black on them, other colors mixed in at different times. But the summer tanager, all red. There are a few young males through there at this time of year. Remember, I talked about the maybe younger birds being a little bit tricky. And so with the younger males, they'll be blotchy red and yellow. So you kind of have to be careful that you're not misidentifying a Western tanager, which is red face, yellow body, black and white wings. So you can't just see the yellow and red and assume, oh, that's a Western tanager. You got to look really carefully at each tanager to make sure that it's not a male summer that's just in different plumage. So it can be really fun to check out. And they kind of line that whole stretch. So you'll have them throughout that whole walk. But really the star of the show when it comes to the Anza Trail north of Tubac is this guy or gal. This is rose-throated Picard. So this is why most people go to this area, is to go and find these Picards that nested in this area. One of the best spots to go and see nesting Picards in all of the United States. In fact, it might not be one of the best. I think it is the best. I think there are two different, well, when I was there on Saturday, I had two different pairs of Picards. So there's definitely two pairs working different areas. And before I talk about like kind of a little bit more about where I saw these guys, what you want to be looking for, they aren't really big, but they aren't small. So they're like a little bit smaller than a brown crested flycatcher. They have a different body structure than brown crested or ash throated. They're not as like slender and skinny. They're kind of more compact. You can really see that the head sticks out. The head is really big for the size of the bird. Every time I see a Picard, the head just kind of sticks out. Got a really funny shape. Unlike a lot of other flycatchers we see, vermilion flycatcher or a Phoebe's head, they're more proportionate to their bodies, but a Picard head just kind of sticks out. So that's what I look for. They also, this one's right on standing right on the branch, but a lot of times they'll be kind of hanging on like the ends of branches, a lot like their nests. This is a picture of a Picard nest that just hangs down from a branch. A lot of times you'll see Picards either hanging off of one of their nests or at the end of a branch collecting different material. So they have some different kind of postures as they perch too. So those are some things to think about, and they're usually higher up in the canopy. So usually kind of like if you're looking at these trees, they aren't going to be like way down here. they're going to be kind of the same level as what their nest is. And a lot of times the way that we find them is we look for the nests. The nests really stick out, and that helps us to lead to Picards. You don't want to stand right underneath of it, but you stand away from the nest and just kind of watch, looking for movement. Try not to get distracted by bridal titmice, or distracted by Lucy's warblers, or distracted by summer tanagers, or Gila woodpeckers, or ladderback woodpeckers, or white-breasted nuthatches. And you wait for the rose-throated Picard. So here's a couple. This is that same map that, of my favorite route for walking the area, and a little understanding of where you might find the Picards at. So pay attention to where the golf course is at. The trail goes up on the east side of the river, and eventually you'll either start hearing started hearing a lawnmower from the golf course, people playing golf out there. I think this one right here is probably the most reliable spot for the Picards. As you go up, you start seeing the golf course. And then before the end of the trail, as it goes off to the left, you can see up here at the top how I went up here. I went too far at first. But if you just about where you can start seeing the golf course, there'll be a little trail. There's a little slough right here, kind of like when it's high level of water, like the river's way over here. But sometimes when there's higher level of water, there is some like a slough filled with water here, but right now it's dry, so you can cross it. And you cross it, there's a water bottle that's sticking on a branch that kind of points to where you can turn off the trail a little bit to go off. The nest is actually way over here somewhere, but you come out into this opening, and from the opening you look over towards the river, and there's a yellow bucket that's sitting over here. And if you look above the yellow bucket, you'll see a Picard nest. And there's like one Picard nest. And then just to the right of it, there's a smaller one. And to the right of that, an even smaller one. And the Picards were coming to all those nests and building them up. And so you just have to go a little bit off of the trail, not too far. It might be a little tricky for some folks to cross a slough there. So, but no worries. If you don't want to go and do that one, and also if you can find this one here, you don't have to walk as far. This is about a half a mile right here. This one up here, about a mile. So this half a mile one, as you walk north, there are a couple old Picard nests that you'll probably see off to your left towards the riverside, a little bit past where these Picards have been hanging out. Also, if you come up to a tire that is around a downed tree, you'll see it. It's hard to describe. I should have taken a picture of it, kicking myself for not doing that. But there's a tire that's like through a downed tree that's right next to the trail. If you've gone up to that tire, go back a little bit. And these Picards were just like right above the trail, gathering nesting material. And my wife and I, we couldn't find where the nest was at, but it looked like they're taking nesting material somewhere right along the trail in this little section right here. Probably right here, you can see where all this blue is just like really heavy right there. So it's about a half a mile on a very easy walking trail, as long as you can cross the footbridge here. But they're really fun to watch. You don't want to be like right next to the nest. If you see the nest, you want to make sure you give it space. But many people get their lifer rose-throated Picards right through this area, and now is a great time to see them, and through August, because they're pretty busy right now. It's not just Picards though. There's other stuff too. And Greyhawk is always a fun one. Here's a video of a Greyhawk that my wife got. Let me play the video here, and you'll be able to hear it. Now, when you're listening to it, listen for the Greyhawk and how the call is what the call sounds like, because you got to be aware there's also zone-tailed hawks. So actually this gray hawk that we saw here chased off a zone-tailed hawk that we heard first. So their calls are kind of similar, but I think a gray hawk call sounds a little bit more, well, here, I'll just play it instead of trying to describe it. Here's gray hawk. There we go. Play it one more time here so we can listen to it again. Love that sound. And then here's zone-tailed hawk. A little bit different. So the cool thing is that you get both right through the section and you can kind of compare them. And the more that you sit with both of them calling near you around the same time, the better, the easier it is to learn them and to process it together. Let's see. Oh, yeah. So a lot of people go to the Anza Trail to look for green kingfisher. The problem is right now there's no water right here at the two-back crossing. So if you're looking for green kingfisher, you got to head further south. You can start at Clark's Crossing. So Clark's Crossing, go back to this map right here. It's just about a half mile maybe from two-back south towards Temacacori. And there's a gravel parking area right on the frontage road here at Clark Crossing. And you park here on the frontage road, and then you walk down Clark Crossing, and the river should be flowing there. Right about where these lines are at right here, these crisscross lines, there's been a family of green kingfishers hanging out just north of the road here. The Anza Trail does come through here, but it's a little bit hard to see, but you can just wait along the road and hope that one flies by. That's probably your best course of action. About a month ago, I did a green kingfisher survey with Arizona field ornithologists, and we had 8 green kingfishers from the bridge road down to just below Clark's Crossing. So lots of green kingfishers through there, more than we probably kind of expect. And yeah, so that's a spot you want to go if you're looking for green kingfisher. But I think there's plenty of other birds up there at two-back. But if you're looking for that green kingfisher. All right, so before we go to the next spot that we're going to travel to together, are there any questions? I'll stop my share, look at the chat, but if you have a question, feel free to take yourself off mute and go for it. Yeah, we're recording, so we'll send a link to the video tomorrow morning. So you should all receive that, see some requests for the slideshow there. Oh, yes. So I see that Peggy mentioned that Scott and Andrea are taking a field trip to Cochise Lake in 2 days. And so if you really want to get your Fallrope identification skills up to par, I think they might be able to help you with that. So I think there's still room on that trip as well. And I see Scott is on the call with us too. So Cochise, oh, where is Cochise Lake? Here, let me, oh, there's even Peggy put the link to sign up. Before I show a map for Cochise Lake is, just to answer that question, Sheila asks, are the birds vocal during the fall migration in your area? Not always. So when it comes to flycatchers, it can be kind of difficult. Greyhawks they're always vocal. They're always talking though. So, and same with summer tanagers. So they may not be, that's why I played just the call of a summer tanager and not so much their song. You'll hear their call quite a bit. And Anza Trail is totally safe for lone hikers. It's there, you'll see people walking their dogs or running and all sorts of stuff. So it's a really, really safe spot to go. So I'm going to share quickly where Cochise Lake is at. And as I do that, any other questions I can answer while I'm doing this?
Luke, I have a question about post-breeding dispersal versus migration, but we can come back to that later if you want.
Okay, that's a good question. Post-breeding dispersal doesn't happen in all species, but seems to happen. Like I see it with like painted buntings, dick thistles, herons, and like gallinules. There's a purple gallinule, I guess, maybe I think up at Arthur Pack or something right now. And I would consider that like a post-breeding dispersal bird because gallinules and tricolored herons, roseate spoonbills, they'll do that sort of thing. At least that's what I've been told. That might be the extent of what I know.
The question came out in my mind recently was that, like I was at Fort Lowell the other day and there was like black-headed grosbeaks. I think there might have been a western tanager. There were mockingbirds flying over in pretty good numbers, western kingbirds flying all over the place.
Oh.
And there's been some opinion on the group chat whether that some are migrants, but I'm wondering if it's mid to late July and some of these birds are still going to have maybe a second or a third brood. And I'm wondering if we're just seeing post-breeding dispersal. Of course, I know without banding them, you don't know, but it's an interesting question. I thought at this time of year is that because we know that a lot of our passerines are multiple broods during the course of the year, especially when we're coming into monsoon season.
Monsoon, yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to look into that a little more. Yeah, always something else to learn. That's for sure. So here's Cochise Lake. Here's the town of Wilcox. As you can see, here's Tucson, Wilcox, about an hour and 15 minutes away. And Cochise Lake is right next to Twin Lakes Golf Course. Well, look out. This is the place to be for shorebirds starting right now. It's really good right now, and it'll just get better throughout the month of August. So this spot. And then if you look at this, I won't get too far into this, but be sure to look over here, especially on these are the golf course ponds. And these little ephemeral ponds right here can be really good for shorebirds too. Don't neglect those. Of course, check out the lake, but then check these ephemeral ponds across from the golf course ponds too. All right. I'm going to take you to a spot that maybe I almost doubt anyone has been to this spot. And it's been a long time since I've been there, I'll admit. But I was like thinking through all these different locations that I'd want to go to in August. And here's one that I'd want to go to, but I haven't been in a long time. So I call this kind of, off the beaten path, a place called Porto Canyon in Spring. So if you've ever been to Porto Canyon in Spring, I'd love for you to have a chance to talk about it a little bit, but I highly doubt anyone has. Maybe someone has. But there's been some good birds seen there lately. I've seen some good birds in proximity to it as well in July, August timeframe. And it's a very unbirded spot. It can be kind of tricky to get to, but it's tricky, but not tricky. So some birds to look for in this area. Recently, Montezuma and scaled quail have been seen in this area. Keith Camper had some Montezuma quail. Tim Hellingeris had scaled quail. Greyhawks, common, 5 to 7 species of flycatchers, both curve-billed and crystal thrasher, and varied buntings, a bunch of other stuff. So where is this place? Where is Porto Canyon in Spring? Okay, so here's just a quick look. I'm going to show you the bigger Google map here pretty soon. If you drive down I-19, there's the U.S. Border Patrol checkpoint that many of you have driven by or past. And the first exit after the Border Patrol checkpoint as you go south is Chavez Siding Road. And I'm also guessing that very few people have ever taken the Chavez Siding exit before, but that's the one that you want to take for Porto Spring. You take Chavez Siding exit, and then you go north on the west side of the freeway, and you'll take a left just about right across from the checkpoint, and it's going to lead you through maze, not really a maze. It's pretty straightforward. I'll show you on the Google map, to a place called Porto Spring. Let's go to the Google map, shall we? All right. Let's scroll back. All right. Tucson up on the north, drive down I-19, past Green Valley, past Amato. Don't go all the way down to Tubac. That's too far. If you see this Red Spring single track system trailhead spot right here, this is on the Porto Canyon Road. So you can always put that into your Google Maps and it'll help you get there. That's a good point to look at. But before you get to Tubac, like I said, you're going to go past the Border Patrol checkpoint. You won't have to stop there on your way south. And as you pass, you take the exit for Chavez Siding, and then you turn right and go north. And again, right past the Border Patrol checkpoint, you'll take this road right here. I don't know if it's named or not, but eventually it becomes Porto Canyon. And you follow this down, and you can come right down this way. There's another way to get there, is by there's a couple different ways that Google Maps will show you how to get there. I think that's the best way, but you can also come down. Well, actually, I'm not even going to show you the other way. I'm just going to show you the way I think is best. So anyways, you get over here towards this Red Spring single track system trailhead, and you see Porto Canyon Road. It's a gravel road. From my memory, and from what I hear from Tim Hellingeris, is that it's not a horrible road. That's a passable, maintained road. That's actually well traveled during hunting season. And so you'll go down Porto Canyon Road past that trailhead. Let me go to satellite because it'll give you an idea of what you're going to be looking for. But as you come down Porto Canyon, you're going to come to Porto Spring. And as we come down here, you can see, look, this is like, there is water here, a little bit of water. That's why it's spring. And there's sycamores, there's black walnut. It's really, really good habitat. And you also notice that as you come down through here, there's going to be like some fences kind of around the edges. I think the fences are to keep out any cattle. But this is really good habitat right here. This is where Tim has scaled quail, where Key Camper had Montezuma, but just a really beautiful area all throughout this section right here. And you can also continue up the road. Let me see. I think I have it up here somewhere. We're not there. Aha. 5 striped sparrows have been seen just past Porto Spring. So you can see there's an old siding of 5 striped sparrow at Porto Spring. But as you go up, this is a new one. This is from Richard Frey and Jenny McFarland. Or this one's from Keith Camper. Okay. I know Richard and Jenny had, maybe this is Richard and Jenny right here. Yeah, Porto Canyon 5 striped sparrow spot. So this is not an area where people go out. It is off the beaten path, but if you want to go somewhere new, if you want to go and explore, you can see that. I mean, just think about when it comes to whether a spot is good, you look at who's been there. And the people who I've named, Key Camper, Tim Hellingeris, Richard Frey, Jenny McFarland, they know something's up in this area. So this whole stretch right here can be good for 5 striped sparrow and many other birds. So as we dig into, let's see, here's another, even, actually, let's go back to this right here. Yeah, here's the 5 striped sparrow. Big, chunky, heavy, dark sparrow that can be just seen up from Porto Canyon Spring. There's another spot, if you want to go even further off the beaten path, a place called Sardina Canyon. Now, I've done yellow-billed cuckoo surveys in this area in July and August. And let me tell you, this place never gets birded except for when these surveys are done, but there was so many great birds in there. Thick-billed kingbird being one of them right here. This isn't my picture of the thick-billed, but this is where I had my very first Pima County thick-billed kingbirds. But this is, here's Porto Spring here, and you just continue on the road, and it takes you to this here. Actually, let me go back to this right here. All right, so we're going to zero in on Porto Canyon. I'll take my time to go through this, so hopefully I don't get too far in front. Here's Porto Spring. Super easy to get to once you get there, and just walk along the road. That your birding doesn't, you don't have to hike off road or anything here. You just kind of bird the road, get there early, and just walk up here, explore, just go slow through here up until about this point right here. I would go about this section right here. And if you want to explore further, you keep going up this road. It's going to be an area right through here for five-striped sparrow. You want to look for like hillsides, kind of steeper hillsides with ocotillo. You want to look for this kind of, it's not barren, but it's like thorn scrub type stuff, habitat. And you continue on this road. There's going to be a tank up here, upper Porto tank. So you're going uphill through here, and you're coming up kind of on a ridge a little bit where this tank is at, but there can be some interesting things there at the tank. And you're going to keep going until you come to a spot where you can choose which way to go. You know, choose your path. And what I recommend doing is continuing west. So just going straight here and going along this edge. I haven't been on this road in a while. So I can't really recommend for like a passenger car, but if you have like an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, I don't think you would need four-wheel drive. I don't remember having to use that, but it ends right up here. And at the end of this, for this one, I would recommend walking off road just a little bit, but you can park maybe right here before it heads south a little bit and walk this last part of the road. You can see just by looking at these topography maps, like where the good spots are at. So this section right through here, this is Sardina Canyon. Never gets birded. If you want to go somewhere and you feel up to like going somewhere and getting off the path and checking out something new, someone needs to go bird Sardina Canyon. Maybe it's me, maybe it's you, but someone should. There's really good stuff through there. Bird Porto Spring first, and then go up through Sardina. Like I said, the Anza Trail, it's not off the beaten path at all, really. The next spot I'm going to talk about is definitely the beaten path, but this spot, no one else. So if you want adventure, go check out Porto Canyon in spring, check out Sardina Canyon. Sardina Canyon isn't even an eBird hotspot. That's how, that tells you a little bit about the area. Porto Canyon is, and so make sure you use that when you, to record your birds there when you go and visit. Any questions? I'm not going to look at the chat, but if you want to unmute yourself before we go to our next spot here. Has anyone ever been to Porto Canyon in spring?
I've got a question.
Yeah, Tiffany.
So how would you recommend accessing Sardina Canyon? To the end of the road of Puerto and then bushwhack down?
Yeah, yep, yeah.
Okay.
So I would park like, I wouldn't park at the very end of where it shows this road ending right here. I would park, I think there's like if we scroll in a little further, you can see that the road, it shows the road keeps going, but I would park like right here. You can see some relief right here. It's kind of, I think there's like kind of like a rock face right there. So I'd park along the road. in air quotes, main road. And then I would walk down the wash. So I remember, as I remember walking through this, it was not too hard walking through the wash, depending on your physical capability, all that kind of stuff. It changes. What I definitely would recommend is making sure that you go with someone else. I wouldn't go to the spot by myself, and I would take lots of water. So those would be my recommendations. Go with someone else, lots of water.
Thank you.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Is there a secret to actually getting eyes on Montezuma quail?
No one shared that secret with me yet. I guess what I would say is the key is putting yourself in their habitat as often as possible. This is definitely their habitat. You could see Montezuma quail, Sardina Canyon, anywhere through Porto Canyon. So just being in the habitat is key. As you're driving, look along the roadsides, walk slowly. Sometimes when we walk faster in an area, the quail will just their last resort is to fly. So their main defense is to stay still. And if you're walking fast, you're going to walk right by them and they'll never have, they just won't get up and fly. But what I find is a lot of times the Montezuma quail will get up at my feet when I'm standing still. So if you just go slow, you have a better chance of them flushing. Yeah, so those are some thoughts.
That's great. Thank you again.
Yeah, but it's tough. I know that there's been some Montezuma quail that have been coming recently to near the feeders at Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary near Hereford, Arizona, and Sierra Vista. And that people seem to be having pretty good luck with them there lately. I wouldn't say that's cheating either. Like, hey, go to a good feeder spot, put yourself right there, have them come up to you. If that could happen, why not? All right. I'm going to go to our last spot here. So we're just exploring somewhere where no one else goes. Now let's go where everyone goes. And I don't think I've ever actually talked about this place in one of my where to go birding. Maybe I'm sure I've talked about it, but it hasn't been like one of my spots. Sweetwater Wetlands. All right. So I'm not cheating by putting this on here. The reason I put Sweetwater Wetlands on here is that it really is a great spot to bird in August, especially for flycatchers. This is an olive-sided flycatcher. Couldn't find a real good picture of olive-sided flycatcher, but maybe that's what I need to get done this year is get a good picture of olive-sided flycatcher. But August is a flycatcher month at Sweetwater. Let me show you something. I'm going to show you. I love bar charts. So if you ever use the bar chart function for eBird, it's a lot of fun. So let me get to the bar charts here. Okay. So I'm going to scroll back up here. This is bird observations at Sweetwater Wetlands. All the birds that have been seen there in the month of August from 2018 until now. Of course, none have been seen there in 2023 yet. So it's a 5-year span. And you can change the location. You can change the date range, any of that for any location that you want to go and explore. So if you want to go explore the Anza Trail at Tubac and you want to have an idea of what's there, a better idea of what's there in August, you can go to the bar charts and look that up. But you can see the bigger bars are when the bird is more common. If there is no bar, like there's no bar here for the first week of July for northern shoveler, that means no one has ever seen a northern shoveler at Sweetwater Wetlands the first week of July, or at least no one has ever recorded it in eBird. And so this gives you an idea of population of birds in a location at a quick glance. So let's go down to flycatchers, shall we? Because flycatchers at Sweetwater in August is awesome. Okay, so here's our flycatchers. We start with olive-sided flycatcher at the top. They come, this is how most migrating birds, how it works here is that they come through sometime in April and May, then they start coming back again in August after a period of not being around. So you can see for August, olive-sided flycatcher comes back, western wood pewee, willow flycatcher. We talked about that briefly. August is really like an amazing month for willow flycatcher, gray flycatcher, dusky flycatcher. This says Pacific Slope, but actually it's, I don't know if you knew this, but Pacific Slope and Cordilleran flycatcher, we don't have to distinguish those anymore. So we can all be happy, and may some of us lose a bird from our life list, but they recently lumped Pacific Slope and Cordilleran and came to the conclusion that it's the same species. I don't know about you, but I always got tired of trying to figure out which was which. So now it's just western flycatcher, but those are really coming back in force in August. And of course, we have our phoebes. Ash-throated flycatcher and brown-crested flycatcher are still around. They haven't left yet. Tropical kingbird hasn't left yet. And then Cassins and western are still there as well. So if you go later in September, yeah, you still get some of these migrants coming through, not so much dusky flycatcher, but you lose brown-crested flycatcher, you lose ash-throated eventually, you lose tropical kingbird eventually. But in August, they're all there. So it's a flycatcher bonanza. And so I would encourage you to go there. Let's see how many olive-sided flycatchers and willow flycatchers and gray flycatchers we can get at Sweetwater this year. Of course, there's always a lot of other cool birds. Warbling vireo is one that doesn't breed around in our valley. They do breed up on Mount Lemmon, but that's one that comes through in August in good numbers as well. And so you can go to the bar chart and you can look. You see purple martins come to their greatest populations in August. So that's kind of a local example of post-breeding dispersal. They arrive here in June, July, they breed in the Sonoran Desert, and then in August and September, they become a little bit more evident at Sweetwater as they leave their nesting grounds and forage for food and other locations. So something to think about there. So yeah, go to Sweetwater in August. You can also see marsh wrens start to come back. Oh, if we go up, you can see this is when you might start seeing tricolored heron. Oh, where's soar and Virginia rail? That's another example. Yeah, so Virginia rail starts coming back in August. Soar becomes a little bit more common. So yeah, it's a really good time. I know that you probably heard about Sweetwater from me numerous times, but I just had to put that plug in there because August is awesome for it. Before we wrap up and before we have more questions, I'm going to leave you with one more bird. If you don't go to Porto Canyon and explore there, what you really should explore for, if you have a chance, is this bird right here. Please, someone find an Aztec thrush. August is the best time for Aztec thrush, but there hasn't been one seen here for quite a few years. But, you know, we're getting all these other weird birds coming through. So I'm thinking that it's about time for someone to find an Aztec thrush. You can see what this guy's feeding on here, these berries. So they're higher elevation, like the top of Madera Canyon, along the creek there from the Santa Rita Lodge and further up and up through the Carrie Nation Trail. If you're going to find chokeberries, if you find a chokeberry bush, you want to start looking around for Aztec thrush mixed in with American robins. So be carefully looking for that. I know I have a lot of friends who are always going out in August looking for chokeberry bushes and Aztec thrushes. That would be like a holy grail Southeast Arizona bird, along with yellow grosbeak, which really came through this year. So with all the yellow grosbeak sightings, maybe it's time for Aztec thrush. Something to think about. I am free for more questions. So if anyone has any other questions about a hot spot, a location that you want to go and visit, that you have questions about, or a specific bird that you might be looking for, I'm going to be sticking around a while to to answer any of those. So, oh, Tony asked about how do you manage birding in temperatures of 113 degrees? Anyone want to give Tony an answer there?
Go early, super early.
That's one.
Exactly,
That's,
go
that's
early.
definitely one. Yep. Go early.
I'm a big fan of clear Pedialyte. Believe it or not, it's better than Gatorade for being hydrated, no weird flavors.
Yeah. Yeah. My friend Tom, he drinks I remember every time I go hiking with him, he's down in those Pedialytes.
The other
also-
thing is go high.
Yes, Scott, thank you. That's it too. Yeah, higher elevation is always good. Finding shade. So even though like the Anza Trail is not high elevation at all, it is shady, so that helps. But like, yeah, high elevation, go early, drink lots of water, Pedialyte, high elevation, all those different things. And thankfully, I'm really hoping our 110-degree days are in the rearview mirror. That doesn't mean it's not hot. I'm really looking forward to 99 on Monday, and that's still hot. It's still hot.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Tony. Any other questions?
Where are the feeders you mentioned near Sierra Vista where you can see the Montezuma quail?
Oh yeah, I just saw your question on here too, Terry. Yeah, let me share that with you. Let me go to share screen. All right, Google Maps is our friend here. Let's go back to the regular layer. So here we got Tucson up here. I would like to have that as our starting point. About an hour and a half southeast of Tucson is the town of Sierra Vista. And the Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary is going to be south of Sierra Vista here. Let me type it in and then it'll take us there. Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary. There it is. So to get to Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary, you would think that you might take, there is an Ash Canyon Road. You don't want to take Ash Canyon Road. I can't remember where that's at. I'm not even going to show you Ash Canyon Road. So don't take Ash Canyon Road. You want to take Turkey Track Road. So let's go out a little bit more here. You'll see Sierra Vista up here to the north. So you go south, like you're heading to the border. Before you get to the border, before Highway 92 heads off to the east, you'll see the little Turkey Track Road. And this is Turkey Track Road. It's kind of a gravel road to get back down in here, and you'll go by some different houses. Let's go to this layer and you can kind of see it. You'll take Turkey Track, you'll go past these houses, and then you'll head to the west. And at the end of Turkey Track turns into spring, there'll be a little parking area right here. You can see the parking area. And then this whole area is set up for watching the hummingbird feeders. This is a well-known spot for Lucifer Hummingbird. So Lucifer Hummingbird is a hummingbird with like kind of like a curved bill with a purple gorget. It's a beautiful bird, but that's what it's most well known for. And so there's hummingbird feeders, and then back behind the house are some other seed feeders for hooded orioles, buntings, Gila woodpeckers. And then there's some Montezuma quail that like to come through this little it's not a canyon. I don't like kind of the arroyo that's down through here. The Montezuma quail like to walk through there, and sometimes they'll come up to the feeders in the back of the house. So this house used to be owned by a lady named Mary Jo. Mary Jo operated this as a bed and breakfast. And since her passing, the Southeast Arizona Bird Observatory, led by Sherry Williamson and Tom Wood, they were able to purchase this with some help of some donors, kind of like what we did with the Patton Center, and have kept it going.
Luke, is that a pay yard then? Or you just can show up?
$10 a person at Ash Canyon Bird Sanctuary. Good question. Sorry, I forgot to bring that up. So that's where that's at. And good luck if you go there to see Montezuma quail.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Jesse asked, have any of you stayed at Santa Rita Lodge for birding? I haven't stayed there personally, but I know many people who have, and they love it. They love it. Nothing like being able to be on your back porch and listening to elf owls or seeing Rivley's hummingbird. So very good. Well, thank you, all of you, for being a part of this. If you ever have any questions about birds or identifying birds or where to go for birds, shoot me an email. Happy to help out. It is a little bit of crazy time with the festival happening, so I can't say that I'll respond right away this time of year, but I'll try to respond if I can. And if you're going to be around in Tucson, August 9th through 13th, please, please, please come to the festival, be a part of it. You're going to love it. I'll be honest with you. When the first year I lived here in 2015, I was birding all the time, volunteering with Tucson Audubon. I knew that they put the festival on. I wasn't working for them yet. I did not go to the festival in 2015. I never considered myself a festival guy. I was like, I mean, I like people, but I kind of wanted to bird by myself, and I just didn't see a reason to go. And then I started helping out with it, and I started coordinating it the next year. And that was really my first bird festival, was the one that I was coordinating it. And it just makes me wish that I would have been a part of it sooner. So even if you don't consider yourself like a people person, you would still love it. So come and join it. Even if you don't register, you can come to the Nature Expo August 9th to 13th at the Doubletree. You can go to our website and read more about it. Hope to see you there. All right. Any last words from anyone else before we go?
Just thank you. It's just wonderful presentation.
You're welcome, Linda. Thank you so much. All right. We'll see you
Thank
guys later.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.